is all about stabilization that's with movement, or we call it dynamic stabilization. So you've got to react and respond in here, and you're doing it all day, but the question is, are you doing it really well or not so well? Training this way helps you do it better. So what you're going to do with an exercise ball is start with one leg back and then come up to the other side. Now, this in itself is still a stabilization with no movement exercise. There may be a little shaking going on. What I want you to do though is add the movement. We call this stirring the pot. So it's as if you're drawing a circle and then reverse that circle. So if you do 2 or 3 in one direction, then reverse it, come back to the other direction. What you want to do here is make sure that your lower body is all in a nice straight line. So there's not this lift up with the hip or dropping down with the hip. It's right here in the center. Core is nice and tight, just stirring the pot. So take a little break. That one's definitely much more work. But I'll tell you what, elite athletes do this kind of an exercise far more than they ever do crunches and sit-ups, because this is the kind of core that pulls in, builds in, gains strength for speed and for moving against resistance that you and I do in everyday life. You don't have to be an athlete to do that. Next up is another one very similar in setup to stirring the pot, but actually a little bit harder. So watch your shoulders, watch the exercise first, and then come into it. Same setup, coming up here, straight leg back, both legs up. So I'm stable, my feet are going to stay put, but what I'm going to do is move the ball out 2 to 3 inches, just away from me. Now notice, I'm not moving, but when you do this, you're going to be tempted to go with it, either with your toes, or you're going to go like this and hunch, crunch your shoulders up, or raise your hips. So it's got to be stable, move away, nothing else moves. So the dynamic is in what else happens while your core stays that base and foundation. Great, okay. Now, great, now you're going to do one more exercise for me. And we're going to turn things around. We're going to put our feet up on the ball. And so I'm going to turn this way. This one's not always graceful to get up into, just going to say. So here's why or how I would do it. And you're going to dive out in front. I'm going to disappear perhaps off camera just a bit. So you're going to come up and then walk it out so that your feet are actually on the ball. Now, choking up would look something like this, okay? So if you feel like you're brand new to this exercise and you can't do it all the way out, or you're just not sure, you're feeling a little vulnerable, start in air, always on the conservative side. So what I'm going to do is walk almost all the way out. I'm going to get my shins and ankles on the ball. And I'm going to hold my core in place so my ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and head are in alignment. And then what I'm going to do is lift up, one leg at a time. That other leg's really got to work like crazy to stabilize. Right in the middle, so nothing else is moving here. Just that lifted leg, up and down. And that's it. Now there are other exercises that you could do using cables at a gym, or if you have them at home, or using tubing, as long as we're anchored on a door. We're going to save those for another day. So right here,